So Marcus Llorente, currently a teammate of Conor Gallagher at Atletico Madrid. But Jamie, not for much longer. What can you tell the Tottenham fans watching this afternoon? Can they start to get excited? This makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
It really does seem like the perfect fit. He is a ready-made Premier League player with experience, an England international, exactly what Tottenham need at the moment, given their lack of midfield options, with Rodrigo Bentancur having undergone surgery today. The club have now confirmed. He's expected to fly into London today, undergo his medical. They've agreed a £34 million fee, Tottenham and Atletico Madrid. Spurs were one of two clubs who approached Atletico, Aston Villa being the other one. So the kind of decision was in Conor Gallagher's court, you would imagine, which club he went for. He's gone for Spurs over Villa. I assume that's because he can see himself slotting straight into that side. And I think what we're going to see a lot, Julian, this month is the wrinkle in this transfer window is players who aren't getting much game time at the club at the moment, trying to get to a club where they know they're going to be a guaranteed starter and where they can make a last-ditch attempt to get into World Cup squads. And perhaps that's in Conor Gallagher's thinking, because he hasn't played for Thomas Tuchel since last summer, but he clearly is a talented player. And you just think that must be in his thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. And I think we talk about Daniel Malen later from Villa. It's the same. You need more minutes. You need more starts. We saw the stats of Conor Gallagher. We showed them earlier. We show them now. 9 starts so far this season. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough to get into the England squad. It's not good enough for him at 25 with the ambition that he probably has. He started really well in his first season at the club, and then things kind of like went downhill from there. I think Spurs, I agree with Jamie, Spurs would be perfect for him.
And those numbers are exactly 1 in 3. So he can't afford to be starting 1 in 3 in a World Cup year. He hasn't played for England since the Senegal defeat in June. So not in Thomas Tuchel's thinking right now, even though he has been still making appearances for a top club in Europe. But I wonder with Conor Gallagher, Jules, he's obviously looking for the instant, for the now. He's rolling the dice in the casino, trying to get himself in that World Cup squad. And he knows that he's going to get those minutes at Spurs. But the longer term project makes more sense to see what the future holds at Aston Villa. It does.
We discussed it.
Thomas Frank's under the spotlight
before.
Jamie.
Yeah, but
Which club has the biggest ceiling?
I will be accused of bias here, no doubt. But if you look at Tottenham with the infrastructure they have, the training ground, the stadium, the fact they are a Champions League club for now, they might not be next season, don't get me wrong, but surely the ceiling is higher at Tottenham than it is at Aston Villa. They're having a tremendous season. They're a great side. Unai Emery is a world-class manager. Aston Villa, as things stand, are they likely to be playing it the following season? Are they likely to be title contenders? Are they likely to be winning trophies anytime soon?
Haven't they?
So I just, I think if you're looking 3-4 years down the line, what is a more exciting prospect? Tottenham, even though they're a bit of a basket case at the moment, or Aston Villa, who are having a tremendous 12-18 months and have got a world-class manager, absolutely, don't get me wrong. But which club has the higher ceiling?
I think it's also more about, and we touched about it already, you go to Villa, there's Tielemans and Onana and Camara, and good luck to get in front of them three to start anyway, plus McGinn potentially, plus a couple of youngsters.
Rodgers.
You go to Spurs, you go in and wherever Thomas Frank is going to play you, and by the way, he's a very Thomas Frank style of, it fits perfectly the style that Thomas Frank would want, and the way that you think at some point, Thomas Frank will get this team to play. So you can understand his decision to go for Spurs ahead of Villa for sure.
And I will also just say, and it's kind of a theme of today's show, because we talk about Lucas Paquetá in a second as well, a big theme of today's show, going home, the lure of coming home. And for a London boy, he's done Madrid. I'm sure he's had a lovely time out there in Madrid for a couple of years. But he's comfortable in London. Getting back to a London club must be part of the appeal.
Don't you two go home yet. We need you for another 45 minutes.
I'm not going anywhere.
Just finally on Gallagher, what are the chances of him getting in that English squad? We know Tuchel is very, very stubborn. Elliot Anderson, it'll be hard to shove him out the way, won't it?
Yeah, I think Rice and Anderson will start for me at the World Cup, if the World Cup was starting tomorrow. But for Gallagher, imagine him as an impact sub from the bench. He can play higher up, he can play in a double pivot, he can play in the midfield 3. He's got that energy. Yeah, he's got that energy. He's a great late runner in the box too, as we saw before that earlier in the season, so in his career. So I think he could be good, but you're right, there's a lot of competition in that England squad.
Julian uses that word energy. That's what Spurs fans are crying out for at the moment. A player just to grab a grain by the scruff of his neck and just show a bit of passion, a bit of fight, a bit of desire. That's what's been lacking at Tottenham this season, and I think Conor Gallagher gives you that in spades.
Yeah, well said. Right, before West Ham could be set for a busy few days, let's take you live to the London Stadium and to Chris Reedy. Chris, how likely is it that Lucas Paquetá gets his way and is on his way back to Brazil this window?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it, Will? Lucas Paquetá, it was revealed yesterday that he wants to return to Brazil, he wants to play for Flamengo, but at the moment, as we understand it, West Ham aren't prepared to entertain offers. We understand that Flamengo are ready to pay around 30 million euros, but again, our understanding is that that would not be enough for West Ham to let their Brazilian playmaker go. Comes on the back of, you know, a rare good result for West Ham on the weekend, beating QPR in extra time in the FA Cup. But a really bad time in terms of them for where they are in the league position, and the results in the Premier League before then, obviously 7 points adrift of safety. So it's a question now for Nuno Espirito Santo, if does he keep one of his best players, but somebody who's clearly unhappy. It's been a real tough couple of years, hasn't it, for Paquetá in terms of those FA betting charges that he was cleared of, but we've seen the effect it's had on him in terms of his form. We've seen the effect it's had on him in terms of that red card a few weeks ago against Liverpool, his reaction, and then his outburst on social media. Well, his explanation, really, not his outburst on social media after that. These rumours, this speculation around Paquetá, it's not new. Back in October, there was more rumours. We understand also that a couple of Premier League clubs are interested in Paquetá, but at the moment, it sounds like, well, we know actually, it was revealed yesterday to Sky Sports News that he does want to return to Brazil. It comes in the week where West Ham are, to be honest, looking to do more ingoings than outgoings. I mean, we know the likes of Callum Wilson and James Ward-Prowse are likely to exit, but they're looking to get a goalkeeper in. It was my understanding as well that a number 10 was on the agenda anyway, whether Lucas Paquetá stayed or went. So yeah, like you said, Will, really busy week for West Ham with a massive game coming up against Tottenham on the weekend, a game they would have been targeting, a game that Nuno Espirito Santo would have liked Lucas Paquetá to play in. He didn't play in the game against QPR. We were told that was due to him not recovering from an injury rather than sort of anything around his future. But you can sort of, I guess you can kind of read into that what you will. But yeah, like I said, really busy week for West Ham. That interest from Flamengo, that speculation around Lucas Paquetá's future is going to kind of rumble on all week. Obviously, be keeping you updated if we hear anything. We'll have Nuno's press conference on Thursday where we can put those questions to him. But yeah, that's kind of the decision that West Ham have to make at the moment. Do they keep an unhappy player who could potentially get them out of the trouble they're in, or do they cash in and put those funds elsewhere?
Thank you very much, mate. Jules, what do we make of this Lucas Paquetá situation? Here's a question for you. What will his legacy be in the Premier League? Because I know you saw a lot of him when he was at Lyon, and there were a whole host of clubs who wanted to sign him. David Moyes did that. He will leave and say, look, I've won a trophy here, their first trophy for many, many years. But what is his reputation as a Premier League player?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great coup by West Ham to sign a player like him to start with, of his caliber, a Brazilian international that a lot of top clubs wanted in Europe. You're right, he won the Conference League. I think there were some great moments, some great goals. He's a wonderful player, let's be honest, on his day. I think him leaving in January and in a way kind of giving up the fight against relegation, it's a team that needs him right now. It's a team that needs their best player, and he's arguably with Bowen, their best player. To leave the ship right now, I think would tarnish that legacy. Whatever the legacy as a West Ham fan you find, was he one of your really good players in history? Could he have done better? Certainly. But for him to want to leave now, to not want to be there, to not fancy that fight, to say to the club, listen, I've kept you up, now let me go in the summer, and in the summer he can go back to Brazil and do whatever he wants. I find that quite disappointing.
Yeah, have a swig of water. What else?
Sorry, it was just, I don't like to talk about negative things.
Jamie, as Jules said there, he is leaving a ship. Whether it's a sinking ship, who knows what Nuno can do, or whoever that may be after Nuno. But the optics aren't great.
The optics aren't great, and I completely understand it from the West Ham fans' point of view. It's like, you know, you are one of our stars. This is when we need you. This is our hour of need. But from Nuno's point of view, do you really want somebody in the Premier League? If your level drops from 100% to 99%, the margins are so fine in the Premier League.
That's true.
And if you have a player in there who has become more of a hindrance than a help, who doesn't want to be there, who wants to be, you know, lying on Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro rather than gutting it out, in a relegation battle in the middle of a British winter, then is he actually more of a hindrance than a help at that stage? It's crazy to think here was a player who was linked with Manchester City not that long ago, and now at the age of 28, he's prepared to say, do you know what, I've done European football. I don't have the ambition to try to win trophies at the top level anymore. I'm just going to go back and have a nice cushy life with Flamengo.
And let's balance it out a little bit, and we don't need to get into all the intricacies of the charges, etc.
Yeah.
Cleared, that's all we need to say, right? But he might well feel burnt by this whole situation.
Sure.
And
I think it's had a big impact on him.
And want the home comforts. Bearing in mind that he's probably still going to start for Brazil at the World Cup at Flamengo.
Yeah, probably. He would be in that squad for sure. I see what you're saying, although the club also stood by him in those difficult times at West Ham. And if you're West Ham again today, you say, really, this is how you kind of pay us back and repay us, which if I was West Ham, I would not be happy at all. But I think Jamie is right. If he doesn't want to be there, what's the point of keeping him? Because if he only plays 50% of his ability, he's not committed, he's not invested, may as well get rid of him, get more than 30 million euros, by the way. This is, if Flamengo really make that first offer, let's say it's just the first offer, and then you can start discussing it, because he's worth far more than that. But if he wants to go back to Brazil, Flamengo are building a wonderful team. We saw them in the Copa Libertadores winning. Obviously, we saw them at the Club World Cup. We saw them in the Intercontinental Cup against PSG too. So they're a great team. He will win trophies there. But it's not European football. It's not the Champions League. It's not more things that he could achieve still in Europe.
The other problem West Ham have is, how do you replace a Lucas Paquetá at this stage when a lot of prospective signings are thinking, I don't want to move to West Ham. They're probably going to be a championship club next season. They're not that attractive a prospect for a player of his ability to bring somebody in, a ready-made replacement for Lucas Paquetá.
There might be West Ham fans watching. I'm sure there are out there saying, stop talking about this guy. He doesn't fancy the fight. Get yourself gone, son. We want people who want to play for this football club and keep us in the Premier League. We're only 7 points from safety. 3 weeks, that could change. You know what the Premier League's like. One name potentially who does fancy the fight. Eric Dyer, or does he at Monaco? Because he's been linked with the London Stadium.
Are you asking me? So living in Monaco, playing the Champions League, fighting for...
Be careful.
No, I'm just saying, the fight against...
So you on the way out of here?
I think if Eric Dyer fancies it, and if you're Nuno right now in West Ham, you go for him every single day. I mean, I don't know how Spurs fans would feel, or West Ham fans would feel, because he was obviously next door before, but the experience, the leadership, the guy that he is, the footballer that he is, I think
only 31
right now
as well.
30, but right now West Ham, and especially they signed Pablo and Tati Castellanos, and okay, I can understand that. But right now, they need defenders. What's letting them down? So it's more that they can't defend for their lives more than anything else.
Yeah.
And especially with Nuno as a coach, what Nuno would do well is building this strong solidity and defense basis first, and then go for the rest. If you leave him with Mavropanos and the others, there's no chance to do that.
Eric Dyer, he left Tottenham with Spurs fans' blessings. I don't think there'll be any issues there. He brings you leadership, he brings you experience, Premier League experience, an international player. I just think from Eric Dyer's point of view, he's at that stage of his life now. He's wired differently from other professionals. Eric Dyer is a deep thinker. He speaks many languages. He's done Germany. He's doing France now. I don't think he really wants to come back to a relegation scrap in England. Maybe sort of, doing Eric Dyer's thinking for him there, but I think he's having a pretty nice life in Monte Carlo at the moment.
He's all about the geography, weird.
Yeah.
Monte
Carlo, Rio de Janeiro.
He wants to live in Monaco too.
Don't we all again, yeah.